Hey everybody, my video is on the it's a post game review of the game yesterday between the 49ers at the Rams. But before I get on to that, I think actually I think George Kittle had a great day yesterday, and I'm wearing his jersey, George Kittle. So I got this for Christmas, but he had a great day today, and so even though the team lost, there are some certain things you can take away from it, some good things. But the 49ers they did not come to play. They did not show up from what I could see. They looked very sloppy and very careless with the ball. They did not look like the team that we saw against Denver, the Seahawks, and the team that played Chicago tough. They were not that team. But on the other token, on the other side, the Rams knew what they had to do to win. Rams had a lot on the line. Um, they knew that a loss could mean hosting a wild card game, and it would have because the Bears won. So if the Rams had lost their game, they would be hosting a wild card game. So they knew the danger of that, and they were prepared, and they were prepared to for the upset factor, because this is the time of year when a lot of upsets happen. So they were prepared for that, and they blew us out, really. But that was because of all the turnovers. We turned the ball way too many times in this game. I remember in the beginning of the game they were working the ball downfield. They kind of got near midfield in the beginning of the game, and they seemed to be moving all right. But then once they got near midfield, that's when things collapsed. That's when Juszczyk fumbled the ball, and it was brought back the other way, and eventually the Rams scored a touchdown. And then it was like that all day long. The next time the Niners had the ball, they turned it over again. And the time after that, and it just went on and on like that all day pretty much. And they just couldn't recover after that. I mean, when you give your opponent a short field for them to score in, you might as well forget about even it's going to quickly turn into a rout, and it did. Although the 49ers did make it look a little respectable towards the end. We started putting points up on the board in the second half, or in the fourth quarter. It was basically in garbage time, and so the score was like I think 40 something to 30 something. I think it was something 16 points. Um, it was they lost by double digits, but it was 40 something to 30 something. So the Niners did come back a little bit and make the score look a little bit respectable, but it is what it is. But so all wasn't bad though. All that happened wasn't bad. Like for instance, George Kittle had a fantastic day, and George Kittle had another huge game. The tight end. He was 14 for 9, 149 yards, one touchdown, and broke an NFL record for a single season yards by a tight end less than an hour after Travis uh, uh, Kalise, Kalise, I think it's pronounced, had just done the same. And so he did really well. George Kittle did really well, and I'm really proud of him. And what's amazing about Kittle, he's only in his second year. He's still a young guy, still a young tight end, and he's doing a fantastic job out there. I mean, I'm excited about what he's going to bring in the future for this team. I can't wait until Jimmy G comes back, and it's going to look great. Um, and also another thing I wanted to point out too. I don't mean to get off topic from the game. Of course, this video, I'm not going to just talk about the game. I'm also going to talk about what's ahead, the future of what's going to be going on, and so I think that the 49ers could have an easier schedule next year. because I was looking at I was, they've already released the schedule of opponents that teams will be playing. They don't have the the dates and times and hours and all that yet. They just have a list of your home opponents and the list of your visiting opponents. And I was looking at it, and you know what? The 49ers actually have play the teams on their schedule. They have most of the teams on their schedule are teams that didn't make the playoffs, and I can read that to you here. Yeah, it's like okay, here's the home opponents. Okay, and these are the teams that made the playoffs and teams that didn't. Okay, and this is for next year's schedule. The Arizona Cardinals, this season, they didn't make the playoffs. The Los Angeles Rams made the playoffs. Seahawks made the playoffs. Falcons didn't make the playoffs. Panthers didn't make the playoffs. Browns didn't make the playoffs. Packers didn't make the playoffs. Steelers didn't make the playoffs. Now the road opponents, Cardinals didn't make the playoffs. Rams made the playoffs. Seahawks made the playoffs. Ravens made the playoffs. Cincinnati didn't make the playoffs. New Orleans made the playoffs. Buccaneers didn't make the playoffs. Redskins didn't make the playoffs. So what you have here, if so the teams that didn't make the playoffs are actually the weakest part of that next year's schedule. So that so when you think about it, the teams that didn't make the playoffs, let's say we beat all the teams next year that didn't make the playoffs, and we lost to all the teams that did make the playoffs. We're probably looking at somewhere like maybe a 10-6 record, because on there's like 6 teams that made the playoffs, and then there's 10 teams, well, if you count the teams we play twice every year too. There's 10 teams that really didn't make the playoffs. So you could be looking at maybe a 10-6 record or something like that, or something similar to that. I mean, there's no guarantee that the results and that kind of record's going to happen, but it just kind of gives you a feel or an idea of what the strength and weakness of next year's schedule is going to be like. So that's interesting. But another thing too is that when I was watching the game yesterday, I was when I saw us losing, I was still keeping an eye on that Seahawk game, and the Cardinals. And the Cardinals almost pulled it off. They almost beat the Seahawks. They almost did it. And had they done that with us losing, we would have been aligned with the first pick in the first round. And but what ended up happening is we got the second pick in the second round, and there's a lot of talk that a lot of people are thinking that perhaps there's a chance that maybe John Lynch might actually trade that second pick in the first round for more picks, because the 49ers only have 5 picks in the draft, and he may use that number 2 pick to get more picks. So I hope he doesn't do that. The way I always feel and think is that, if you're up high like that, you want to try to get the best player in the draft that you can, but who knows, who knows how that's going to turn out. But I really hope that they take care of a lot of issues in the off season. Certainly there is a lot of things that have to be taken care of. We got to do a good job in free agency. We got to do a good job in the draft, and because I don't want it to be like last year, where we're settling for this guy, settling for that guy, uh, settling for this, settling for that, being content with this, being content with that. I don't want us to be in that again. I want us to bring in good players, good quality players, players that are going to pull us over the top. That's what I want, and that's what I'd like to see. But if they keep doing things this way, but it's their past drafts, that weren't all that great. It wasn't the only reason why this season kind of sunk the way it did. I think part of it was, the injuries. We had way too many injuries. You had um, 12 guys, I think 12 or 13 guys on injured reserve. There were a lot of guys out for the season. There was one guy that you know who it was, Reuben Foster. He was released from the team because of possible, um, you know, domestic violence. There was also a guy that was suspended for reasons that were never revealed. So we had lost a lot of guys, and I think that one of the things that we should do, we right now we should fire our strength and conditioning coach. I mean that's ridiculous. We've been having too many years like this where we lose, and we lose guys for the season and have a lot of injuries. It's like this every year. We have a lot of injuries, and I'm kind of like starting to think. I mean, are we the only team in the NFL that has these injuries? I mean, we've got guys dropping like flies every week. It's ridiculous. Certainly, but I think we got to also look for guys in the drafts, guys that can really contribute to the team. There's Earl Thomas. People have been talking about, but the thing that I hear about Earl Thomas is, and I hear people say this, is that he's broke his legs twice. He's injury prone. But sometimes when you have the same injury twice, kind of close together, sometimes it's not that you're injury prone. It's just that it's a coincidence. You know, but I think he's a good player. I think that if he's healthy and stays healthy, he could do good things for us. So I definitely would keep that as an option on the table. Another thing too is there's other good players out there that we can bring in, like Clowney and Ramsey from the Jacksonville Jaguars. We need to strengthen our defense, and strengthen our secondary. These are areas that really we need to work on because our secondary really got burned this year, and a lot of times. And part of the reason why our season sunk was because of the defense. There were a lot of games where our defense just played terrible and was giving up so many points, wasn't even giving our offense a chance to win games. And there were a lot of games we lost closely that we probably should have won and probably would have had a better record. But these things are what they are. Um, and so, but the draft is going to be interesting to see what they do. And I think what you got to realize too is that nothing is what worries me about the draft is that sometimes when you draft a player you really don't know what you're getting, because that player could turn out to be a bust later on. If you look at Reuben Foster, thought we were getting another Patrick Willis, and what happened with him? He was a guy that got hurt a lot. He didn't even play good this season, and the domestic violence thing got him kicked off the team. So you never know what you're going to get. That old saying, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Well, that's basically how the draft can be. At least with free agents, you know what you're getting. You already know what these guys' resumes are. So with free agency, you already know what you're getting. And so you got to stick with they got to also bring in free agents too, because when you bring in free agents, that speeds up the rebuild. If you're just solely building on the draft most of the time, it's going to take a while for those players to develop. So you have to bring in experience, and that will help speed up the rebuilding process. That's what you just need to do. It's how the NFL is now. But the game against the Rams did what they had to do. Going back to that game, they had to do what they had to do. They had so much on the line, and they weren't going to let it slip away. And but I think that they're going to do good. 49ers. I think the 49ers are going to do good. I know that with YouTube and Twitter and Facebook, we always get trolled on. Us 49ers always get trolled on. Our team hasn't played well in recent years, and so there's going to be a lot of haters out there that are going to troll us, and tell us that our team sucks and that our team is a dumpster fire and call us 40 whiners and all this stuff, and say, why do you still root for that team? Why don't you root for a winner? The way I answer that is, I ain't gonna leave this team. I will never give up this red and gold for nothing. I mean, I've been a fan all my life, and I'll stay a fan for the rest of my life. I mean, when when they bury me, I want a 49er flag on top of my casket. Okay, that's how much I'm a fan. All right, but like I said, I we'll get there. Even though we'll get this criticism and this trolling on us, we'll get there. One day we'll be a better team, and we're going to be relevant again. And once we get to that relevancy, um, people won't be doing that anymore. People will respect us. I know it's hard. I know it's hard. You turn on the news, you hear, you watch the NFL Network, you watch ESPN, and you hear them talking trash about your team. Saying your team is no good. You don't like hearing that, but you know, our team hasn't played well, but you still don't like to be reminded of it. So, but you just got to learn how to forget about those kind of things. But anyways, one thing before I go, I just want to wish everybody a happy New Year. Drive safe. Because there's a lot of drunks out there. So even though you may be a really good driver, um, you have no control over the drunk drivers on the road. You have no control over their judgment and what they do. You may be a good driver, but you have no control over them, and they could kill you. You could go through a green light. You have a green light, you can go through it, and then the car comes and hits you. Those things happen. So be very careful about that. And sometimes what people do is they just stay home and watch the specials and the shows and the Dick Clark type like show, Rockin' Eve type shows at night, when celebrating New Year's, and that can be a lot of fun. The entertainment, the concerts, and all that on TV. Enjoy it with your friends, your family, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. You know, um, there are a lot better, safer ways to celebrate New Year's Eve. But and I want to let people also know that even though the football season is over, I'm still going to be doing videos next, maybe in a couple of days, maybe tomorrow or whatever, next weekend. Even though the season's over, I'm still going to be doing videos because of what goes on during the off season, and I'll be doing this all the way up until next season starts again and beyond. So I'll be around. I enjoy this. I love my team. So, but anyways, everybody, have a good holiday season, and I'll talk to you all later. All right, people, take care and have a happy New Year.